Hello and welcome to this video recipe for curry goat. I will be taking some inspiration from both Jamaican and Nepalese curry cooking techniques, so it's probably not the most traditional recipe, but what I can guarantee is that it's delicious and super easy to make. So first, go ahead and roughly chop 1 onion, 1 bell pepper and 3 cloves of crushed garlic. I added 1 scotch bonnet, but you can replace this with 4 or 5 chilies instead. And remember guys, the full list of ingredients are in the description box below. Wash 2.5 pounds or just over 1 kg of goat meat in warm water mixed with apple cider vinegar. Give it a quick stir and set aside to be drained later. But first, for the spice mix. Measure 1 tablespoon of all-purpose seasoning. I used Dunn's River. 2 tablespoons of curry powder. I used a mixture of hot madras and beta pack. 1 tablespoon of meat masala, which is essentially a South Indian garam masala, half a tablespoon of ginger powder, and 1 tablespoon of sea salt. And set this aside. Drain out your meat at this point, and if you do see some redness in the water, make sure you give it a second rinse and just ensure that the meat is very clean before adding your spice mix. Toss the meat around using your hands and ensure the spices are completely incorporated with the meat. Gather the vegetables that you chopped earlier and combine this into the mixture, giving it another quick toss. You want to cover your meat mixture with a lid and place it in the fridge, preferably overnight, but for a minimum of 4 hours. The following day, get yourself a large pot with a lid and try to get a thick pot, as we will be slow cooking this curry for a couple hours. Throw in a tablespoon or 2 of olive oil. Goat meat naturally has a high fat content, so avoid using too much oil. Make sure the heat is up on high and pick out just the goat pieces from our meat mix and give it a nice stir. For Jamaican curry goat, you can skip the browning process altogether and skip straight to adding water. Nepalese curry goat, however, is slightly different, as we allow the goat to fry until fully caramelized and dry out before moving on. I like to go somewhere in between and brown it without allowing the meat to get completely dry. You will notice that if you fully caramelize the meat at this point, your final product will be a chewier meat, whereas a little browning will maintain the tenderness. Once you get it to your desired brownness, add enough water to just about cover your meat. At this point, you can add a few sprigs of thyme and 2 spring onions, but I stuck to the basics and threw in 3 bay leaves alongside our vegetables from the meat mix. I know these vegetables can look a little odd in South Asian cooking, and meat curry doesn't need vegetables. I completely get that, but you won't be able to see any of these in the curry. It will, however, flavour the gravy beautifully. After about 45 minutes of simmering, you'll notice the meat is still very tough and the water has reduced just slightly. Use a piece on the bone to determine tenderness and add enough water to cover the meat. Allow the meat to come to a simmer and cover. After another 30 minutes on high heat, this brings our total simmering time to 1 hour 15 minutes. Add another teaspoon of curry powder and sea salt according to taste. Also, just something to note, the cooking times will vary depending on how big your meat pieces are and the quality of it, the material of your pot, your stove, so don't be so strict with the timings of this video. The gravy tastes absolutely delicious at this point, but you want to leave it to thicken and turn the heat down to a medium. So another 45 minutes later, the meat should be soft and tender. You can use a butter knife and a piece on the bone, just like before, to determine whether or not you want to cook it further. But I'm more than happy with this level of tenderness, so I'm just going to give it another stir and another cook for about 10 more minutes with the lid off so that the gravy reduces just a little. I personally like my gravy quite thick and minimal, but if you want it soupier, go ahead and add some more water and season accordingly. But here we have today's final product. This tastes the best being served with plain white rice and a big dollop of curry. Doesn't that just look delicious? Thank you for watching. Give this video a thumbs up and let me know what you think of it in the comments.